this week, what we're talking about is it was my choice, and it's cool because this is actually the first one that we've seen that that actually it sucks, and it sucks like really bad.
You thought it sucked,
Yes, like I was not.
but was it so
Yeah.
bad that it was kind of good? It was kind of
Oh yeah, like I giggled. I mean, I was laughing the whole time for sure, but
right.
there was no. I don't think there was any intentional humor in there. But
Intentional.
yeah, but so what was it? What do we watch, Robo? Tell these
We
folks.
watched the 1990 classic cartoon Swamp Thing,
Yeah,
and
the
I did.
swamp.
And I remember these toys back when I got back into toys. I think they were still on shelves mid 90s.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
looked it up, and Kenner released these in 90, but I don't remember there being a cartoon. Apparently, it didn't get out there a lot, the 2 seasons that were made.
No, actually, I don't. I think it was only 5 episodes or something.
Was this, or was I thinking of a different? It was. I was
Yeah,
thinking of a different cartoon already. But
that's how forgettable.
no, 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 you're right. It was just the five. They came out with one episode and then four the next year from
Yeah,
April
yeah.
to May or
It,
something.
yeah, it was like months later, and then they went ahead and showed them all, which it's so ridiculous. I mean, when I read that, I was like, that makes complete sense. Like they probably just had to use what they made, but it was so bad. They were like, oh, what do we got to put this? But we got to put this shit out somehow.
And that was right before internet came to Arkansas. So it's not like I looked it up or anything. I was just toy hunting, reading magazines.
Yeah.
So I didn't know about a cartoon. Well, I think, in fact, at that time, I didn't have TV. So I was moving around a lot, and it was just like milk crates and toy hunting,
Yeah.
keeping my toys in the car.
So, like, I completely forgot there was the animated show as well. I do remember the figures because
Hmm.
I actually liked them a lot. Like, I had a couple of them, and I was really into them. And I feel like they were something that like I would buy when I couldn't decide on a Marvel, the 5-inch Marvel stuff. I'd be like, oh, a Swamp Thing figure, and I'd get those. They always had like fun gimmicks and stuff or whatever. But I do remember those, and I didn't even realize there was a TV show for it. And like I can't remember if I've seen it. It feels familiar because like there's a lot of funny things in there that used to happen on a lot of cartoons, But
Right. It had all the same beats,
yeah,
and
yeah.
almost the same. I'm, if I didn't know any better, I would say those backgrounds are from some of the show, and they
Oh
just put
man,
Swamp Thing and the characters in front of it.
yeah. No, I wouldn't be surprised.
But all I remember from the toy line though is Swamp Things. I didn't remember any of the other characters.
Oh yeah, same here. I want to say that I remember some of the crazy ass vehicles because those all had like little gimmicks and stuff too. Um, and it's funny because like the vehicles, they looked exactly like they did in the cartoon. Like the cartoon looked like a shitty toy floated.
Okay, I knew there was Swamp Thing toys. I didn't know the extent that they were made. But when I started watching this earlier, I wasn't even 5 minutes in, and I thought, this is a toy commercial.
Oh yeah,
All
yeah,
this has to have toys. So I went and looked right then, and everything I had seen in the first 5 minutes of the first episode had a toy of some kind. The characters and the vehicles,
yeah.
and even the, what was it, the transducer, where he
Wait, no,
changes them
wasn't
into
it the
man.
transducer?
The
What?
transducer.
Oh, it's Deucer. Okay.
Yeah, it was the chamber that he stuck them in, and then they came out all animal
Yeah,
mutated.
yeah. I
Even
thought I thought it was transducer, but
the transducer, you know,
I think I got
pull
distracted and started laughing because I thought it was transducer. I was like transducer.
it. Well, the guys went in and came out mutants, but they didn't look really human before they went in.
No, they
You
were
know,
already mutants.
yeah, kind of. They may have been just bumpy skinned, but
Yeah.
very toyetic though.
Oh yeah. And you're right. They made toys for everything. They made toys for Swamp Thing, a bunch of repaints of him. They made.
They didn't make the kids.
Oh, they didn't make the stupid ass kids.
Not that I can find or see, maybe, but they made Bayou Jack. They made Tomahawk. Then they made Weed Killer and Skin Man, Dr. Demo, and Arcane.
Did they make the girl? What's her name?
Oh, nope, they didn't make her either. But I remember some of these toys and the cartoon. But the thing that caught me right off guard, I started the episode and I thought, man, did they rip off Wild Thing for the
Yeah.
theme song? It's straight up. I thought, oh, they're gonna get away with a couple of notes, and it was like, oh no, they went for the lyrics.
Yeah, that was the thing that I was most excited that you'd see when they started singing Wild Thing. I was like, holy shit! Like when that started playing, I started cracking up, man. I was like, oh, this is gonna be the best thing ever. It's so bad. It's so bad, and I don't know if it's like. I can't tell if that was being a parody or like making fun of Wild Thing, or if they thought it was cool to sample Wild Thing.
You had to have. I didn't see anything in the credits. I may have missed it that they got permission to use Wild Thing, or if it was so small and they kind of went under the radar with that.
Yeah, and I mean they changed the words.
Yeah, but I mean that's blatantly the riff.
Yeah, it's like Swamp Thing.
Nah, 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 nah. Hell, I don't even like doing that much for fear of a copyright strike.
Yeah, no, I know.
Yeah, it's terrible. It's bad. And then it's showing all these clips, and you're like, "Oh, that looks cool." And, well, okay. Once I got past the initial shock of Wild Thing being converted to Swamp Thing, I was watching it. I was like, "Oh man, these would make awesome new toys." You know, the designs for all this.
For sure.
That was another thing that caught right off the bat.
Yeah, imagine like a Super 7 or a NECA making an animated Swamp Thing. I'd be down for sure all day.
Yeah.
But so the episode starts with Swamp Thing fighting, was he fighting Skin Man?
He was fighting a couple of them. He threw a net on them. It's like, we've got you now.
Oh, and then he talks, right? His voice threw me off. He's like, that's a good trick, but I've got a better one.
You thought you'd expect something like and it's just like, well, he's Hero, you know. He can't have a...
That's true. But he's like, I got a better trick. Yeah, he like disintegrates into the ground. I will say, I do like the way that they show some of his powers. It's corny, but it's like it's pretty cool. Like I like that. That was a cool little trick that he had.
Yeah, like the finger lasso.
I don't like that one. I don't like that one too much, but yeah.
And then he rooted his feet down to pick up their vehicle, didn't he? He rooted his feet down and then stretched out and just kind of flipped them.
Oh, see, that's cool.
Later on in the episode. But you're watching it and you can't quite tell how big Swamp Thing is during the whole episode. Sometimes he's just a little bit bigger.
Yeah.
And then sometimes he's huge.
Well, I mean, that makes sense, right? Because
maybe part of his power, what he's actually trying to do.
Well, like in the comic, he wasn't like a man, right? He wasn't a man or in the Alan Moore run, he wasn't a man. He was like a pile of moss that thought he was a man, right?
Well, I don't know. I thought it was always just like this origin. He was a guy, went off in the swamp and
I don't know if it changed. Well, with the Alan Moore one, it was a little different. Like he made it to where it wasn't really Alec Holland anymore.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was a pile of vegetation or plants or whatever that got infused with Alan Holland's like body or whatever. But Alan or Alec, whatever his name is, Alec,
yeah, Alec,
Alan, dies, and this pile of whatever just thinks that he's human. Or
well, that makes sense too. I mean,
and it makes sense. Like that kind of works better with the powers. You know, because if there's a man under there, how's he going to turn into a puddle of shit or whatever to disappear into the ground?
Well, I think here, which, okay, another thing about this, boy, they just jump right in, don't they? And then come in with the origin later.
Yeah.
It's Swamp Thing coming out of the swamp, and here's Demo and Weed Killer, looks like.
Weed Killer.
Just jumps right on them. And like, wait, what the hell's going on here? Who's that? And who's that?
Yeah.
I forgot Swamp Thing stretched and pulled the steering wheel off the swamp boat.
Yeah.
And the guy's just like, you missed me. What?
Yeah. So So he fights those guys, and what do? They run off and they go
Yeah,
tell
they.
Art.
Yeah, he gets out of the net and then kind of gets them, and then the other one comes in on the swamp boat, and he runs him off too. But then Tomahawk shows up.
Right. And then Tomahawk is like a typical like Native American stereotype, except he had light skin, which I thought was kind of weird, but that might have just been the animation or something. Because
Yeah. Then
yeah,
the kids come rolling up in this wooden ass Jeep looking thing.
yeah,
It's all boards with a motor in the back.
yeah, and it isn't it like a car that they made or something?
Yeah, and it's got things on the front that they never use, but all they're doing, the whole point is that they're catching frogs.
Yeah.
It's a little.
And then Tomahawk's like, "Why you catch frogs?" And then like one of the kids is all, "Hey, we're just relocating wildlife, man."
Uh-huh. I know. It's almost like they're there for fodder, something for Swamp Thing to save later.
Oh yeah, yeah, for sure.
That's it. But Tomahawk's vehicle is like some crazy technological monstrosity thing that he drives around.
Yeah, but he said that he's like, it's built by somebody who knows the swamp more than me. No, nobody
So
knows the
we're
swamp.
assuming that's Alec, right? That he built him the Swamp Thing.
Oh, oh yeah, that's what I was assuming too. Yeah, Alec or
Yeah.
Swamp Thing or whoever, yeah, made that thing for him. But I
Huh.
like how the little boys, their car, I think it was their car that had the claw to catch the frogs, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So when those guys' vehicles pull up, I definitely like was thinking, oh yeah, those were for toys. Like that's where you know.
But I'm not sure they made that one though. That vehicle or the kids.
They
They
made
made the
some
one that
vehicles.
comes later. Oh, Bayou Jack's vehicle
Oh,
was
that's who
the
they
other one.
made.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, okay,
And it looks kind of like that because at first I thought they're not calling it the same thing, but yeah, then he comes along later.
yeah. And then so Arcane's goons, they run back to him, and I
Uh huh.
like they run back to him and they go, "Oh man, Swamp Thing beat us again," and they're like, "You idiots! Now I'll fix you. I'm gonna put you in the trans diffuser and make you better." And then he puts them in there, and they come out, and they're like the worst designs ever.
You don't like that? I love this big bat thing that comes out. It's almost like it just mutates the top half of all these guys
The
because of the
bat was okay.
toys. Because the toys only do that.
Oh right,
The top
yeah.
goes on them.
Oh yeah, yeah. That makes sense.
Because
No,
Swamp Thing hides from the kids by camouflaging, which is another toy
oh
type
yeah,
thing.
oh yeah. Anything they could make a toy of, they were doing it, or any way they could repaint it, they were on it.
Yeah.
But
So you don't like the snake guy, do you?
or the no, he looks so stupid. Or the one that had a squirt gun, like he kept using it for dumb.
The one, it's almost like a bug. You know what? I didn't care for the design until the kids were crawling out the window and he
Yeah,
comes crawling around on. That's kind of scary. That's kind of,
I know,
if you
but
saw
then
that, if you saw that coming around a corner, you'd be
yeah,
like, holy shit.
for sure, for sure. But then he's all, oh, that's the kid goes some stupid ass thing like, either that's the the ugliest window washer I've ever seen, or we've been caught. And then
Yeah.
the big bug monster squirts them to like make the wall slippery.
And they duck. And yeah, it hits the thing. And then he just pushes the trellis off the wall.
Yeah. I guess Arcane's stepdaughter helps them, and she's talking to them or whatever, and they're like, "Whoa, how could a girl be in with these guys or whatever?" And she explained. I like the way she brings up Swamp Thing's origin. It's pretty organic.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty slick how she did it.
Because I didn't think they were going to fit it in there anywhere. And it just kind of, here's my scrapbook. This
Yeah,
is what this, because you have to explain to the kids because the kids don't know. They just thought Swamp Thing was another monster in the swamp
right, right.
fighting the other three,
Yeah,
too.
and then that convinced them. They're like, "Oh," so they even said, I think, "Oh, so Swampy is a good guy. Okay, cool."
Yeah, Swampy.
Swampy.
Just,
There's one part.
you about to say the one towards the end where it's like, swamp them up, Swampy, or some shit like that. It's like, wait, that's dumb.
Yeah, I wrote that down and everything. I think it's swamp 'em, Swampy.
Swamp them, Swampy.
Yeah, kids escape after all, right?
Mm-hmm.
They fall down the thing because the dude squirted them with the water. They escape, but
Well,
Arcane, did he let them escape kinda so he could follow them or something?
I don't know. I think he was trying to hold them, but it worked in his favor. I think that they escaped.
I think here's what happened. Arcane catches them, and he goes out to the swamp with them, like as bait, because he's like, oh, the perfect bait, and I'm already have him on my hook, or he says some weird shit, and then he goes out there, and Swamp Thing's like, let the kids go, and then he's like,
that sounds just like it too.
And then Swamp Thing is like, oh shit, like the only way I could save these kids is to give myself up. And Arcane was like, I'm gonna turn these kids into monsters, and then Swamp Thing's like, no, and so Swamp Thing goes with them.
It was a missile. He was going to shoot a missile that would change the humans.
Man, that's overkill.
Yeah. This missile will change all three of you into unmen.
Okay, so then they take Swampy over to their lair, and they have him it's funny because they have him in a little like bed or whatever, and Arcane's like leaning over talking shit like, I got you now, and Swamp Thing grabs him like by the neck.
But it shows him still in the restraints.
Oh yeah.
Right after that, his arms are strapped down. Then suddenly he's like,
Bayou Joe, Tomahawk, and the two kids. And I don't know what happened to the girl. She was around there somewhere.
Yeah.
And Bayou Jack and Tomahawk are there, and they're like, we're gonna go save him. And the two boys come up, and they're all, yeah, we're gonna save him. And then Tomahawk goes, no, you shouldn't. And then the boys go, you know what? Maybe you're right. We shouldn't. We're out of here.
Yeah, but they give kind of a wink, wink. We're going in anyway.
Yeah.
Because he actually gives a full-on wink.
Oh yeah, he does.
Because it cuts straight to them going in the vent and down to the lab.
Yeah.
But that's the first time we see Tomahawk's crossbow too, with the big red.
Oh, with a clipboard-sized arrow.
The construction this way sign that he shoots out. But the kids' big plan were to drop frogs down into.
Yeah.
This'll mess with them.
That's like a typical old school cartoon like tactic, right?
Yeah, that's some Scooby-Doo shit right there.
Yeah. Like they're gonna stop the big old supervillain with a bunch of frogs.
And he would have gotten away with it too if it wasn't for those meddling kids. But that's when Tomahawk comes in, shoots his big ass arrow, hits the
beaker,
hits the beaker of life juice or whatever it is,
juice.
And then they start escaping.
Yeah,
and then he dehydrates, and he's like, "Oh, can't move."
Oh yeah,
and we got to throw him in the fountain. But yeah, then you get into the final battle with the Unmen and Swamp Thing, and that's when he lassos the bat.
Yeah,
wouldn't that be a cool power to have? That you
could lasso?
Yeah.
I mean, for Swamp Thing, it's cool, I guess. But for Swamp Thing, I like the creepy or weird stuff. Like him doing a lasso kind of takes me out of like the creepy. I mean, obviously the show's not supposed to be creepy, so
right.
It works. I mean, for me, everything in this show was like, this isn't Swamp Thing, But
yeah,
I guess like within the context of the show, the lasso finger is awesome. Yeah, I'll give you that for sure.
But anywhere else, if it's some dude on the street, you were just out wandering around and there was a bank robbery and some guy runs up beside you and his finger stretches out into a lasso and he's like, how's it going? Saving the day. Cool. Yeah. And you're like, you're a dipshit.
Yeah, it's like the weakest power ever. Oh no, but what I liked about it, I think he lassos the bat, I think, and he's swinging him around. I think it was right here, and then when he lets him go, it makes the old classic sound like the cartoons would make when they fall. It's like, or I don't know how to do it, but it's.
Oh really? I don't remember hearing that because it went from.
If you could go to that part and check it out, but it's like
I'm on that part. Stand back, guys. He even tells everybody, get out of the way. I'm about to lasso finger this bitch.
I'm about to lasso finger this bitch. That sounds nasty and badass.
It's kind of a
Yeah, there you go. That's way better than mine. But yeah, that's like that's another thing where it's like, what is this? Like they stole that sound bite straight up from like Scooby Doo.
everybody stand back. And then Bayou Joe comes around with his car, clamps the insect guy, which is weed killer, I guess, and just runs it into the swamp. It's like, I'm gonna drown him.
Man, yeah, see, he's a badass.
Yeah, then they shoot goo at each other.
Oh yeah, that's weird.
See, oh yeah.
So then I think this is when Arcane decides to let off his missile.
Yeah, let off the missile, and Tomahawk hits it with a missile of his own.
Oh, I don't remember that.
I forgot about this part already. I watched this an hour ago. You're right. The fallout from the missiles coming down, and Swamp Thing's like, "I will protect us," grows into a tree, and Bayou Joe sprays him in the crotch with pink goo.
Yeah, and Swamp Thing, he couldn't do it without Bayou Joe's help.
Yeah,
he was like, "We could stop it if you spray me or whatever," and then Bayou Joe starts spraying him. And then when it shows the scene of the liquid landing, it's just like a couple drops.
It is. It's just like it's a light drizzle. Okay. And then he turns around to take out Arcane, and because we forgot about the part where in the lab Arcane gets splashed with something that changes him to a mutant.
Yeah, in the mayhem caused by the frogs. He got he got splashed up, and he looked kind of cool. See, he looked like what the Unmen looked like before they went too far into their transformations.
Right. This is like initial mutation.
Yeah.
Not
I like the initial mutations a little bit more than the secondary mutations.
A little bit more realistic.
Yeah, and I mean, and also like the snake guy, he's just too crazy. He looks so stupid walking around. And
it's like taking G.I. Joe, where there is kind of a sense of realism, and shoving some Masters of the Universe in there. And it's like, here's this.
Yeah, it seemed those guys just were like, I don't know about these ones.
But from there, it's just he throws their car back, and then it has Arcane at the end going, "I'll get you, my pretty."
Yeah, it pretty much ends right there, huh?
Yeah.
Or is there
which all in all, I mean, as far as cartoons built to sell action figure or toys, it's not the worst I've seen.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I don't know. When I say it was bad, I just say like, because we watched the Hulk. Like the Hulk show, I go, that's a good show. That's pretty awesome. I'll go back and watch that again and genuinely enjoy it. Like I won't be. There's funny stuff, but I'm not going to be laughing at it the whole time. And this here, it's like, man, Swamp Thing's a goofball. Everyone's a goofball except for Joe and Tomahawk. They're pretty cool. But everyone else is just like a goofball. And
I don't know. Swamp Thing's very straight and narrow, Stand back, guys.
Oh man, he's got some good quotes at the end. I wrote some down. Oh no, Here, let me read a couple of these quotes that I wrote. So Dr. Arcane has one where he's capturing the boys, and the boys do something, and he goes, "Boys will be boys, but not for long. Soon they'll be unboys."
and it's kind of clever because of the whole unmen thing, but at the same time.
But then they do the unmen thing the whole, like the rest of every time they get a chance, if they're saying a boy or a girl or whatever, like a sex, they'll say an unsex, like an unthing. Like Swamp Thing does it later. He goes, oh man, he goes, "I have some unfinished business with these unmen."
Yeah, but that's very, oh, Swamp Thing's at it again. Good Lord.
Yeah. If I was Tomahawk, I'd be rolling my eyes. I'd be like, "Oh, this motherfucker, man."
This guy, plant guy.
Yeah.
Because when the villain does it, you're like, oh, well, that's not very threatening.
Well, yeah.
Boys. Actually, that sounds kind of, not something you want a villain to say.
Yeah. "I'll turn you little boys into unboys."
That's... Everyone should have stopped and turned around and went, The hell's an
Oh,
unboy?
that would have been awesome.
Yeah. Kind of leaning into the whole
Yeah.
silliness of it.
See, now if
Yeah.
they did that, it would have felt all the humor, everything funny about this show would have felt more intentional. But they weren't doing that. They were just like, yeah, we're gonna use these unpuns the whole.
That's what kids like these days, you
Yeah.
know? Let's follow the same model we have since 1979 because it'll work in 1990. There's probably a reason this show didn't make it past 4 more episodes.
Yeah, I mean, but it's, I mean, there was a lot of good shows back then or whatever, but there was plenty of stupid ass shows. Like I'm
Oh,
a
yeah.
little
Yeah.
surprised that this didn't go a little bit longer, you know. I mean,
Now, you think of the Hulk, and what if somebody who was more DC oriented watched the Hulk and was just kind of like, did that guy just strap a rainbow gun on his chest to shoot, you know, too big? Or do you think it was actually better cartoon overall? I mean,
I think it was a better cartoon. Like it was
because you're more,
definitely.
because you're probably more of a fan of Hulk than Swamp Thing, right? I mean,
Yeah, but I do love Swamp Thing. I mean, Swamp Thing is my favorite
yeah,
DC character. I like Swamp Thing a lot, and see, but I feel like the Hulk show captures the spirit of the Hulk.
yeah, yeah.
This doesn't capture. I mean, Swamp Thing doesn't work in this kind of setting. But
But
anyways, I think that's about it. Huh? We covered the toys, we covered the tunes.
yeah,
I think we
we,
mentioned the beard at the beginning.
a little bit, yar, some
Yeah, yeah,
beards.
pirates, yeah. So you kind of teased it at the
So yeah,
beginning.
now it's time because I get to pick the next episode, right? I mean, the
Yeah,
next cartoon to watch. And you just got GI Joes, you know, and you haven't
yep.
watched any of the GI Joe cartoon, and it's easily accessible on YouTube now with Hasbro putting up on their channel. We're not going to do that.
I knew you were gonna do that shit. I knew there was no way that you were saying GI Joe. I was getting you almost got me for a second, but I knew you weren't gonna say GI.
That's too easy. I don't want to be the guy that's because you picked Swamp Thing. That was a nice out of the way,
Yeah.
you know, not straight up. Not you could have went what the Adventures of what the Batman cartoon,
Oh
big,
yeah.
huge in the '90s. You know,
Yeah.
you could have went there, but you went with Swamp Thing. So I feel like I need to go. It's not obscure, or at least I don't feel like it's obscure. But you know, I could go Mask. You know, there's a lot of talk about Hasbro bringing Mask back and stuff.
Yeah.
And okay, so we're not going to do that.
Okay.
We're gonna go back to 1980 for a little cartoon that I like to call Thundar the Barbarian.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah.
You know of it, right? I mean, you've heard of Thundar the Barbarian.
Well, actually, I think I've heard of it, but I only recent. It's in my recent memory because you mentioned it a few
Hmm.
weeks ago,
Hmm.
and like in my mind, I have no idea who Thundar is. I can't picture who he looks like or anything like that.
Oh man, I haven't watched it in a while. I need to go. Well, I'll go back and watch episode 1 too. But man, the memories. It's like, oh, I need a toy line, and it would be really basically very simple. You know, there's some villains, but man, if they just made the 3 main characters, it would be, whew, it'd be
And is
amazing.
nobody's doing Thundar toys now, right now?
I think Toonami did some Thundar toys back in the early 2000s, but
Yeah, I have no idea who Thundar is. Is it
yeah,
all right? Well,
he's a
actually, yeah, don't tell
barbarian.
me anything. I'm just gonna go in blind.
And you'll watch it and you'll be like, "Oh, this did come out about the time of Star Wars," because there's kind of oh, you know, him having a big beastly buddy.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, cool. All right, I'm looking forward to checking that out. That's awesome.
Yeah, that's going back a little further because we were talking about, you know 90s cartoons, I know 80s cartoons, but I
Yeah.
watched a lot of cartoons back in the 80s that spanning
Oh,
back further. And like I said, it is 1980, so
cool.
it's right
And
there.
is it a Hanna-Barbera cartoon?
I believe so, which I want to say that Mezco does have some kind of license for Hanna-Barbera,
They
and I've
used to for
wanted,
sure. They
yeah,
like
because Space Ghost.
yeah. And I mean, like for whatever reason, it seems like they don't do anything with that anymore. They don't do
Hmm.
anything with Universal Monsters.
Hmm.
Do you remember they had the Mortal Kombat license for a while, and they
Yeah,
did the plastic figures that really sucked?
yeah.
And I don't know, they dropped all those things maybe when they got Marvel and DC. Anyways, How do we sign out of here? I mean, I think we got our intro was okay, but
Yeah,
I didn't
yeah.
think
We'll
about
just
the
say,
outro.
hey, thanks for listening to another episode of Triple T. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so thanks for listening to another episode of, of Triple Tree. I mean Triple Three, Triple T. Thanks for listening to Triple T, Toys, Tunes, and Two Beards. If you want to hear the whole thing, make sure to check out the Fwoosh front page in a couple of days. And if you're on the Fwoosh and you want to see some visuals, check out Unparalleled Universe, which is my channel. And yeah, you'll get the full experience. So I think that's it. So bye-bye.
Yeah. So bye bye. You don't have to go home, but get the fuck out of here.